In this lesson, we will create 2 new custom tabs on the ribbon in Microsoft Project. Here you can start with any schedule you want to use to play around with. I would suggest not to use a current working schedule. It's best to use a schedule that would be okay to mess up if something goes wrong. As you can see, I have a sample project which I will be using to develop all the customizations we will create in this course. Right now it is plain and does not have any customizations. It is just right out of the box, this view right here, which is how we want to start. We will be creating 2 new tabs. These tabs are not necessary to be able to learn and use the different customizations. The first tab we will create will be Minerva's Favorites. Of course, you can name it any way you want to. Here we will put all our favorite buttons that are already available for us from Microsoft Project. We just want to have them all in one place so we don't have to hunt for them. Examples of things we can put are the Publish button, if you have Project Online or Project Server, the Save button, Spell Check, etc. The second tab we will create and leave blank. We will call it Minerva's Custom Tools. We will use this to add some, not all, customizations we create later. We will have to record macros and do light modification to the code to make sure they work at least 80% of the time. To make sure that they work more reliably, you will need to do more error handling. If you are interested to learn more about the basics of VBA in Microsoft Project, you can take the course I offer on that subject. If you aren't interested in learning VBA to create this tab, don't worry. It's not necessary to have this tab to be able to use the customizations we'll create later in this course. Let's create the tabs. So the first thing you need to go do to make these tabs is go up to this ribbon and right-click on any of these tabs. Once you have right-clicked, you can go and click on Customize the ribbon. So click on it. Then you get the project options. Since we click directly on the ribbon on one of the tabs, this opens up directly on Customize ribbon. It also opens up on this Task tab because that's the one we have selected up here. So let's close this Task tab, and then you can see all the tabs in here. So the first thing we wanted to do is to create the Minerva's Favorites tab, or whatever you want to call it. So you can go down to here and click on New. So as you can see, we got this new tab right under the Task tab. We can move it around and we'll see later where we want to have it. But right now I'm going to rename it. So I'm going to click on New tab. I'm going to right click and I'm going to click on Rename. So here on Rename, I'm going to call it Minerva's Favorites. And then I'm going to click OK. So go ahead and click OK after you put the name you want for your tab. As you can see now, the tab's name is Minerva's Favorites. We also have automatically this new group down here. We're going to change the name to Save because we're going to have one group that's called Save. So I'm going to click on it. Then I'm going to right click and rename it. And here I'm going to write Save. As you can see, I have an option of choosing a symbol or an icon in here, but for the groupings, I prefer not to. If you want to, you can choose one if it works for you better. And I'm going to click OK. So I also want to add a group called Favorites. So I'm going to go over here and either on the tab name or even in the group name, I can right click and I'm going to add new group. Click on Add New Group. And now you can see I have the Save group and the new group. So I'm going to click on New Group, right click, and click on Rename. Here again, I get this rename options for this group. I just want to call it favorites. So that's all I'm going to change. And now I'm going to click OK. So go ahead and click OK when you're done. And now I have these two groups. So if I click OK right now and we go look at the new tab, we will see our new tab, but we will not see anything else, even though we have created these groups. They will only show up once we put buttons in there so we will be able to use them. So now go ahead and click on OK if you want, or just watch to see how it will look. So I'm going to click OK. And as you can see, right next to tasks, I have Minerva's favorites. So I'm going to click on this tab. And as you can see, it is completely blank. And that's what we expect. So to go directly to this tab's settings, we just right click on the tab and click on Customize the ribbon. As you can see in project options, we're again in Customize ribbon, and we have highlighted Minerva's favorites because that's where we right clicked and we had already selected that tab. So to add some things to save, I'm going to click on it to highlight it and make sure I have it selected. And then I'm going to go over to the right side where it says choose commands from. Right here you have options. If you open this up, you can have the popular commands, commands not in the ribbon, all commands, macros, and then the different tabs that you may have. I usually do all commands, but sometimes we can find things on popular commands. Right now I'll leave it in popular commands and see if I have the save button. So I'm going to scroll down. As you can see, the save button is right here because it's very popular. So I'm going to click on save and I'm going to click on add. But before I click on add, I have to make sure that I have save highlighted as it is right here. So I'm going to add. And as you can see, I have the save button now in here under my save group. The other button under save I want to add is the publish button. This publish button is really important if you're using Project Online or Project Server. If you're not using that and you're just using the desktop version without the server options, then don't worry about it. You don't have this option. But it is very important for Project Online or Project Server. So since I do use those, I'm going to add it to my save group. So I'm going to click on add. And I want it to be first before save. If you're not going to add the publish button, you can also go down here and click on save as. And then you have the option to click on save as to save a copy of your schedule. So let's add that as well. So I'm going to click on save as and add to our group. But I want it last. Right now, at least where I have it, it came out as being in the middle of this group. So I want it at the end. So I'm going to click on this arrows and move it down. So I have now completed my save group. Now I'm going to go ahead and click OK so we can see what we have created so far. So click OK. So as you can see here in Minerva's favorites, I have the publish button, the save button, and the save as button. I'm currently not connected to any project server accounts that I have, but if I was, the publish button will not be grayed out. Right now, if you don't have any access to Project Online or Project Server and you added this publish button, it will be grayed out as well. So just keep that in mind. The next thing is I want to go fill out my favorites group. That should be right next to here. So we can't see it because we haven't added any buttons yet. So I'm going to right click on Minerva's favorites and then click on Customize the ribbon. Again, we get the project options, we get that we're in the Customize ribbon, and we are in Minerva's favorites. Now I'm going to click on favorites to make sure I have it highlighted. And now I'm going to search for my commands that I want. So one of the things that we have here that I might want to use a lot and want to make sure that I have it available is a way to create a new file quickly. So I'm going to go down here in popular commands and find new file. If some of these are not under here, you don't find them, what you need to do is do the drop down menu and then go to all commands, and you should be able to find what you're looking for. So now here they have new file highlighted, and I am under my favorites group. I'm going to click on add. Now I have the option to create a new file. The next thing I want to add is actually a copy picture. This gives you an option to quickly copy a section of your schedule so that you can make a good copy to put into a presentation or to save as a picture. So here I'm going to select it and I'm going to go ahead and add it to my favorites group. The next thing that is important to me is the indent name option. So to add that, it's not in popular commands. So we're going to open up this menu and we're going to go to all commands and we're going to scroll down, or we can start typing indent. I'm going to click in here and start typing indent. I just had to type in the I, and here is the indent name. So I'll show you what it does once we're done creating this group. I'm going to add it right under copy name. I'm going to do add. And then the next thing that I find important, that is a question I get a lot, and it's one of my most popular videos on YouTube, is how to do spell check in Microsoft Project. So to avoid having to hunt down spell check every single time, you can add it to this favorites tab, and then you will always have it and know where it is exactly. So we can go in here and type in S. So we can go down to the S group, and then we're going to go look for spelling. So it's a little farther down. And right here, we can find spelling, and then we're going to add it. And then one last thing that is very important is to have the calculate now option. That's also available by doing F9. So sometimes some files are on their way to be corrupted, or maybe you turn off calculation. You might want to, especially if your schedule is really large and you want the calculation off, and you want to make sure that you can recalculate at any time you want, you can use the calculate now option. So I find that very important, especially for old files that are kind of corrupting and it seems like they're not calculating correctly. It's good to have that option. So I'm going to click on C to go to that group. You can see I have the calculate now, and I'm going to add it. So I think those are enough buttons to give you an idea of how you can create your own favorites groups and have all the options that are needed that you want to use in one area. So I'm going to click on OK. And so now in Minerva's Favorites tab, I have the Save group where I have the Publish button, the Save button, and the Save As button. I also have this New button for creating a new document, a new project file. I also have this Copy Picture and Indent Name and spelling, so we can do spell check and calculate now. So here, if I click on New, I automatically get a new project file, and it's project 2. As you can see, this options, this tab that we have created is automatically part of the file because it is in our global template and it is useful for us for whatever file we open. If we save a file and send it to somebody else, they will not have this tab available. There is a separate way of how to do it so they can get these options, but we're not going to discuss it in this lesson. So I'm going to close this file because we're not going to use it. I'm going to go ahead and copy this whole schedule. Remember, it's not pretty here and it's not pretty over here on the Gantt chart because we have not customized it so we can see everything in one area. But I can show you how using this copy picture will be good for adding it to a presentation. So if we go ahead and click on copy picture, we get an option to render the image for screen, for printer, or to a GIF image file. And you have the option to copy to the rows on the screen or the selected rows. Also, the timescale is shown as shown from on screen, or you can do a from to. Maybe if we click on this one, we will get a nicer picture, but we'll see. I'm going to click OK. So this is very similar to using Control-C for copying information in Microsoft software, but it is a little bit different because it actually copies the picture. So I'm going to look for PowerPoint so we can type so that we can paste it in there. So I'm going to look for my PowerPoint app. And here I'm going to click on blank presentation. And I'm going to change the layout just a little bit just so we can see it clearly. You don't have to. So I'm just going to click on blank. And now that we're here, I can just click on Control V to paste it. And now you can see here the schedule. So we have the schedule right here. Of course, we need to fix our view here for the Gantt view to make it better so we can see the whole schedule. But we're going to work on that later in the course. This is just so that you can see that you can quickly make a copy of your schedule and make it and paste it in Project or anywhere that you need to have a nice presentation. Okay, so let's go back to Project. All right, so the next thing I like in here is having this indent name. So right now, as you can see, the schedule has different, depending on the level, depending on the outline level, it's indented in. So right now, if I click on indent name, you can now see that it has taken all the indentation off and left the summary task highlighted so that and left the summary task bold so we know which ones are the summary task and which ones are the task, but then we have everything else without indentation. Sometimes this is a good view, especially if you have really long names. It is better to take off the indentation so when you do a copy of the picture to paste into a presentation, it looks more professional. But it's up to you if you like that or not. When the indent name is being used, you can see that it is unchecked, so there's no indentation. And if I click it again, it should check off and bring back the indentation. So I found it very interesting and useful in the past. So you go ahead and use it if you like. If not, just don't put it into your favorites. The next thing I find important is the spell check. Like I said, it's the spell check. Like I said, a lot of people don't know where the spell Like I said before, a lot of users do not know where spell check is. It's actually under project. We click on project is the last one where it says proofing is spell check. But if you put it in your favorites, you will have it there automatically and not need to find it. As you can see, when I hover over it, it says that if I want to do spell check, I can use F7 as well on my keyboard. But if I click on it right now, it tells me that it has finished checking the spelling in my schedule. I'm going to click OK. And then this calculate now, if I hover over it, you can see you can calculate now using F9, and it will calculate the whole project file. So you can do that. There is another option to calculate project. You can also add that in here, and it works very similarly. So if I click on calculate now, we won't see anything change because it is doing it in the background and everything has been calculated up to now, right now. But it is a button that comes in handy when you need it. So the second tab we will create and leave blank will be called, it's the Minerva's custom tools. So we're going to go over and right click on Minerva's favorites, and we're going to click on customize the ribbon, and we're going to do what we did before. We're going to close this actually. We don't need it open, and I'm going to click on new tab, and it brings it right under the Minerva's favorites because I had that one highlighted. If I right click on new tab, I will have to go rename. Or if you want to, if you're highlighted the new tab, you can also click on rename and you will get the same option. Here I will put Minerva's custom tools. I'm going to click OK. And the new group will take care of it in another video. And right now, I'm just going to click OK. And now it's ready for us to use in future lessons. So now I have my favorite, Minerva's favorites. So I have my favorites right here. You can see all my favorites. And I also have this Minerva's custom tools where we will be putting some of the customizations in here with VBA. So in this lesson, you learned how to create new tabs and how to add buttons of commands already available.